From a dusty mountain village in the heart of Mexico, a man rose to command one of the largest criminal empires of the modern age. A man whose story is intertwined with the history of the drug trade in Mexico and across the world. With a combination of ruthless violence and business savvy, El Chapo built a multi-billion-dollar drug and money laundering empire. But his legacy is complicated. Many revere him as a maverick, while others see him as a brutal criminal. This is the remarkable story of El Chapo, the man responsible for transforming the drug trade forever. El Chapo was born in La Tuna, Sinaloa, Mexico, in 1954. He was raised in poverty by his father and 5 siblings. After his father was murdered in a street brawl, El Chapo was forced to take charge of the family. He started working in the drug trade as a teenager, and soon rose to prominence in the Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in Mexico. El Chapo had a strong determination and a ruthless mindset. He was known to focus on what he wanted and refused to be swayed by anyone else's opinion. But it wasn't until he started to forge his own syndicate and expand into cocaine trafficking in the late 1980s that El Chapo's empire really began to flourish. He established his own organization called the Sinaloa Cartel in the mountainous region of Sinaloa, Mexico. El Chapo used both conventional organized crime tactics, such as bribery of government officials, and violence against his rivals, as well as unconventional techniques like creating a powerful network of airplanes and submarines to transport his wares to the United States. By the early 2000s, he had become one of the world's richest and most dangerous figures. He had a vast amount of money and used his wealth to buy power and protect his interests. He corrupted his way into government positions and bought friends in the media. He used bribes to hire mercenary hitmen to enforce his rule and secure what he wanted. His dealers and informants sold drugs in his name, helping expand his empire. By 2010, El Chapo had reached the height of his power. He was the leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, and his wealth was estimated at a staggering $12 billion, but his legacy was doomed to be short-lived. Throughout his reign, El Chapo faced increasing conflicts with other powerful cartel members, among which were his former ally, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. The conflicts between the cartel leaders eventually reached a boiling point. El Chapo and El Mayo were locked in a bitter feud, while El Chapo and El Guzman engaged in a bloody turf war. This conflict lasted for months on end, and it resulted in numerous homicides and other violent crimes. The battles between the cartel leaders eventually led to El Chapo's downfall. On January 8, 2016, Mexican and U.S. authorities launched Operation Black Swan, a joint manhunt to finally bring down the notorious drug kingpin, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. After months of surveillance, the authorities had tracked El Chapo to a safe house in a quiet neighborhood of Los Mochis, the port city in northwestern Mexico. That morning, a full-scale raid was conducted. Dozens of heavily armed officers flooded the building. In the ensuing firefight, 5 of El Chapo's bodyguards were killed, and another 6 were arrested. El Chapo himself made a break for it, slipping out a back door and escaping through the city's drainage sewers. But as he emerged from the manhole, he was surrounded by police. After an intense week of talks and negotiations between Mexico and the U.S., El Chapo was extradited to the U.S., where he would face trial for 17 criminal counts related to the production, smuggling, and distribution of cocaine and other drugs. In 2019, at the conclusion of an epic trial, El Chapo was found guilty and was sentenced to life in federal prison.